Ariana Grande and the Biebs are holding a Manchester live concert to benefit the victims of the terrorist attack at the Ariana Grande concert in Manchester. The live event has been a little bit overshadowed by the new terrorist attack in London, which was eerily similar to the last terror attack, which occurred on the, I believe it was the Westminster Bridge. It was a similar type of thing. This time it was a van hitting people on the London Bridge, and then three terrorists, three Muslim terrorists, Muslim fighting age men, jumped out of the van and went on a knife spree. Now, I think one of the people that were injured was a London police officer in the knife attack. And in London, not all the police officers carry guns. Here in the United States, IRS agents carry guns. Everybody seems to have a gun. Citizens carry guns. IRS agents carry guns. Everybody's got a gun. All of the agencies have SWAT teams. But London's a little bit different. They might want to rethink that policy after this current attack. So we're currently in the quote-unquote month of Ramadan. So this is part of it's going to be considered to be part of the Ramadan Bombathon. So far we have 510 casualties in the name of Islam this month. And my birthday always falls in this month, so I'm always, seems the last couple of years, my birthday has been mired in terrorist news, which always kind of bums me out. So the terrorists fled their van, which they had rented from Hertz, and they went rampaging through the city with hunting knives. They hit, looks like, three separate pubs. Of course, they hit the London Bridge, and they hit looks like a couple of restaurants around 10 o'clock, stabbing people as they were kind of out partying on a Saturday, which you'll notice is also illegal in Islamic Sharia law. Drinking and partying is illegal. One of the jihadists was described as a model neighbor who was left alone with children. It sounds like he was in a somewhat segregated neighborhood. I believe he lived mostly with other people of his Muslim faith, but he went to a different mosque, apparently, as his neighbors did. His neighbor reported to the Mail Online that one time he stopped and helped me get my car restarted. The Mail Online is not saying what the evil loser's name was. He said he wanted to help a fellow Muslim out. I thought it was odd. He said he was religious because I never saw him at mosque. And the neighbor said these people are usually radicalized in their bedrooms. So these people being Muslim radicals. And then the neighbor also reported that his brother must have come to his place because someone was crying. So Cosmonaut sent me a video of an Australian guy who had just been stabbed, and I thought it was really, I don't know, kind of darkly funny. If you want to take a listen.
Went to Belushis, watched Champions League final. Finals over, 4-1 Madrid. Happy days. Walked outside, walked across the road, a fight breaks out. I'm like, shit, what's going on here? Start to walk towards it. All of a sudden, the guy comes up with a knife, and I'm like this, ducks it, stabs me there, and I just like push him off, blood's going everywhere. I walk into a pub, and I'm like, someone help me, I've just been stabbed.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
What was he wearing?
I've got no idea. idea.
Was he wearing a
No
mask?
idea. No mask. He looked like I hate it because
Go on.
you know.
Say it.
I know the thing with Muslims and terrorism.
Yeah.
He looks like a fucking Muslim terrorist.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I was like, what are you doing?
How bad did he?
He got me. But I dodged it. Like ducked and leaved. Got it. No, I'm just kidding.
Lucky man.
I got fucked up. But yeah. What are you?
Oh, wait, you're Aussie.
Yeah, I'm Australian, mate. Mate, this is my last night in London, and I'm supposed to fly back tomorrow.
I'm not British Airways, I hope.
Hello, mate. Hello, mate. Andrew.
All right, so this Aussie bloke got slashed in the throat, and he's sitting there on the sidewalk, and he's like, well, I was drinking, blah blah blah. I was in a pub, and there was a fight outside. Or wait, I was drinking, Real Madrid was up 4-1, happy day. I mean, he goes through the soccer score and everything. I just thought it was pretty surreal, and he's like this, like, I don't want to be like profiling here, but the guy was a fucking Muslim terrorist, and he slashed me in the throat. I don't know, I think the fact that 3 men with knives can terrorize a whole city is kind of sad when you realize that the tech it takes. The Donald tweeted that it's interesting we're not talking about a gun control debate. Now, I don't know if they were in the United States, maybe it would have been different. I'm not sure. I mean, it really is the element. I'm surprised you're just sitting there having a beer and, some evil loser starts slashing people. Now the Brits did a pretty badass thing with Brexit. They said, screw this. We don't need. And I'm pretty sure that the big reason behind it was they're like, we don't need any more. Muslims coming over here from Syria and Pakistan and failing to integrate into society. If they want to come over here and become Brits, that's fine, but it seems like they come over here and they have a flag of convenience. So they're in the country, but every other aspect of their lives is they're governed themselves, their own communities by Sharia law. They're not, they're not getting gainful employment. So they're in this kind of lefty nanny state despair where they're just getting a check from the government. They're living in, they're alive and they're being fed and their basic needs are being satisfied, but of course they're, on the lower rung of society, and then they have all of this this jihadi influence on the internet and also in the news. So Theresa May goes out and she says, enough is enough.
Security and intelligence agencies and police have disrupted 5 credible plots since the Westminster attack in March. In terms of their planning and execution, the recent attacks are not connected. But we believe we are experiencing a new trend in the threat we face, as terrorism breeds terrorism, and perpetrators are inspired to attack, not only on the basis of carefully constructed plots after years of planning and training, and not even as lone attackers radicalized online, but by copying one another and often using the crudest of means of attack. We cannot and must not pretend that things can continue as they are. Things need to change, and they need to change in 4 important ways. First, while the recent attacks are not connected by common networks, they are connected in one important sense. They are bound together by the single evil ideology of Islamist extremism that preaches hatred, sows division, and promotes sectarianism.
Holy moly! She said the I word.
It is an ideology that claims our Western values of freedom, democracy, and human rights are incompatible with the religion of Islam. It is an ideology that is a perversion of Islam and a perversion of the truth. Defeating this ideology is one of the great challenges of our time, but it cannot be defeated through military intervention alone.
I thought it was climate change.
It will not be defeated through the maintenance of a permanent defensive counter-terrorism operation, however skillful its leaders and practitioners. It will only be defeated when we turn people's minds away from this violence and make them understand that our values, pluralistic British values, are superior to anything offered by the preachers and supporters of...
Now, do you think, for instance, do you think that Theresa May could vocalize what the pluralistic British values are? I mean, if you asked a Islamic terrorist, an extremist, what their values were, I'm pretty sure that they could rattle them off. Now, I mean, is she talking, when she talks about values, is she talking about freedom of speech? Is she talking about, what is she talking about? Because as you'll listen later on, she talks about a little bit about the internet. So she's clearly not talking about freedom of speech if she wants to regulate the internet.
Hate. Second, we cannot allow this ideology the safe space it needs to breed. Yet that is precisely what the internet and the big companies that provide internet-based services provide.
So it's the fault of the internet and the internet companies who are, at least in this country, internet companies and the internet and businesses that are based on the internet, that's the only sector that is having really any growth, because the government, being as dumb as they are, have not figured out a way to wrap their big gluttonous arms around the internet. I mean, they're taxing some things and they're taxing the companies, but what they aim to do, and what the I don't want to sound like Alex Jones, but what the globalists want to do is control that medium. You know, if you look at China, they spend more money trying to control speech within their own country than they do on their external military budget. So trying to control what people do on the internet and speech on the internet is an aim of the left. It's an aim of globalists, because for them that's the Wild West. Now, I know she's talking about Islamic ideas, but I know that if they try to control what people are saying on the internet, a lot of different things will get caught in that net.
We need to work with allied democratic governments to reach international agreements that regulate cyberspace to prevent the spread of extremist and terrorism
Yeah, you see that? Regulate cyberspace. And I'll have you know, in countries like Canada and countries like the United Kingdom, free speech is not a constitutional or a guaranteed God-given right. As a matter of fact, the rights in the United States come from God, in Great Britain, countries like that, everything's illegal until they say it's okay. So a major aim of Theresa May and of globalists like her, and if you look at like Theresa May is actually the more conservative of the two candidates that are running in the United Kingdom. You have two lefties running against each other. I mean, there's no heroic heroic Donald to be found to disrupt the political space in the United Kingdom. So yes, the aim of the left, and you see it here, is to control what people can say. There's a political correctness movement out there that there's actually like certain subjects that polite people can't even like talk about. One of them, of course, is Islam. So if you talk about Islam and you say something offensive about Islam, and there are like huge percentages of people in the Islamic world that support what happened in London, hands down. I don't think it's a majority, and we did an episode on the Pew research that showed it. It's like 30% think it's okay, and think suicide bombing's okay. So if you're importing 100 people and 30 of them think it's okay, then they're going to harbor and support the one or two people with the balls to go out there and spread their religion and spread the Islamic Caliphate into the West. And it's a multi-pronged strategy. I mean, with a demographic shift, people coming over, immigrating to European countries, they have like 5 and 6 times as many children as the regular Brits do. Not the regular, but the Brits already living there, and so the Muslim population is growing. So you will actually see if it continues at this pace, you'll actually see where you have European countries like France, and you're already seeing it in London where they have the Sadiq Khan guy as their mayor, who famously said that London terrorist attacks are going to become part and parcel of living in a large city, which is what you see in the Islamic world. If you live in Baghdad, or if you live in Afghanistan, if they have a large city there, I don't know if they even have that there. Terrorism is a reality. If you see, I mean, in the Ramadan Bombathon of 2017, we're in day 9 of Ramadan, and we've had 46 terrorist attacks and 510 kills. They don't matter to the West unless they occur in the West. So, last week we had Cameroon, Tunisia, Pakistan. There was a stabbing in Germany. Apparently they were smoking during Ramadan and refusing to fast. So another thing you'll see on the left is there is a tendency to kind of say, well, this is just religion. Religion is just evil. But you can believe that, and that's fine, but terrorism is a new phenomenon, and it's connected to one religion. So we have these mental midgets from Hollywood spouting out about how, it's all religion is evil, and they're saying, we all just need love, and that is kind of the language of cowardice. If you say all we need is love, well, that's fine. I mean, love is great, but you're not going to solve the problem. You're going to create a hell that was built on this slogan.
And we need to do everything we can at home to reduce the risks of extremism online. Third, while we need to deprive the extremists of their safe spaces online, we must not forget about the safe spaces that continue to exist in the real world. Yes, that means taking military action to destroy ISIS in Iraq and Syria, but it also means taking action here at home. While we have made significant progress in recent years, there is, to be frank, far too much tolerance of extremism in our country. So we need to become far more robust in identifying it and
Prime Minister May is right here. So we've seen in the news where an extremist cleric will go on national television, supported by the taxpayer dollars, so they don't actually have a means for employment. They preach hate. That's their gig. It doesn't feed their 9 children. So each time they have a child, they get a new check. And you'll see that in the media where they'll go out there and they'll say, I want Sharia law for the United Kingdom. But the United Kingdom does not want Sharia law. And this is, and you will see, because the politicians are weak, you're going to see where the worse that the terrorism gets, the more that basic freedoms are going to erode. And then they're going to continue to allow immigration in the country. Maybe 3 in 10 believe that terrorism's okay. Maybe 1 in 100 decides to get into that field. And in a sense, it plays into the hands of the left, because you're going to have more and more terrorists, and then you're going to have a larger and larger police state. And the more and more of a police state that you have, the greater power that the government has, and a larger government means less opportunity for people that are trying to excel, and more fairness.
Stamping it out across the public sector and across society. That will require some difficult and often embarrassing conversations. But the whole of our country needs to come together to take on this extremism. And we need to live our lives not in a series of separated, segregated communities, but as one truly united kingdom. Fourth, we have a robust counter-terrorism strategy that has proved successful over many years. But as the nature of the threat we face becomes more complex, more fragmented,
it doesn't feel successful.
More hidden, especially online, the strategy needs to keep up. So in light of what we are learning about the changing threat, we need to review Britain's counter-terrorism strategy to make sure the police and security services have all the powers they need. And if we need to increase the length of custodial sentences for terrorism-related offences, even apparently less serious offences, that is what we will do. Since the emergence of the threat from Islamist-inspired...
Prime Minister May, in the United States, we just put them on an island, and they're just sitting there on an island in the Caribbean.
Terrorism. Our country has made significant progress in disrupting plots and protecting the public. But it is time to say enough is enough. Everybody needs to go about their lives as they normally would. Our society should continue to function in accordance with our values. But when it comes to take...
So, what are the values? And this kind of reminds me, just as an aside, of the climate change debate. They always like there's talk of denying climate change. There's talk of it's happening, it's real, it's dangerous, it's a huge threat, and then there's never any talk about the data. And my gut tells me on this that the data is not very good, but that the political urge for climate change is there. So where's the disconnect?
Taking on extremism and terrorism, things need to change. As a mark of respect, the two political parties have suspended our national campaigns for today. But violence can never be allowed to disrupt the democratic process. So those campaigns will resume in full tomorrow. And the general election will go ahead, as planned, on Thursday. As a country, our response must be as it has always been when we have been confronted by violence. We must come together, we must pull together, and united, we will take on and
I mean, can you see a society where anybody can be searched, anybody can be frisked, any door can be kicked down if there's a smell or a hint of terrorism? I mean, do you want to live in that kind of a world where, it happened after 9/11 with the Patriot Act, and I was young when the Patriot Act passed. I think it was in high school, and I said to myself, I was like, okay, well, I'm fine for Patriot Act if you're looking at terrorists, but they're not only going to apply it to terrorists, they're going to apply it to weed dealers and any white collar crimes and any situation. So basically what you do is you just give more and more power to the police state. And that's why we live in a society now where we're not surprised to find out that the NSA is looking into people's cameras on their laptop, that every phone call is being flushed through a sieve, and if it fits some complicated algorithm, there's somebody listening to it. That's where we are now. I can't imagine where we will be if we have a terrorist attack. In the United Kingdom, they've had a terrorist attack, 3 terrorist attacks in the last 10 weeks. This terrorist attack beat the fundraising concert from the last terrorist attack. So they couldn't plan a fundraiser quick enough for the last terrorist attack, and we've already got terrorists planning this new one. I mean, trust me when I say they have a pipeline of terrorist ideas, of terrorist operatives, and they're just ready to keep coming with their... I mean, if you can terrorize a city with 3 guys and 3 knives and a van, and change national policy, this is this is incredible. And I don't know, I feel like in America they probably would need guns, but we have guns here everywhere anyways. So Cosmonaut texted me, and he asked me if I was going to change my Facebook status to the Union Jack or some such thing, and I said I'll just wait for the next one, because without any actual change, without any real action on this issue, you're not going to see real change until you say, well, wait a minute, we have a problem and it's inside the Muslim community, and so we're going to take a breather. They passed Brexit months and months ago, and they're still living under the European Union, and the basic problem here is leftism, and that is I kind of think about the political spectrum as, on one side you have like feelings, and that's on the left, you have feelings, and then on the right you have your brain, you have rationality. So I think in this case, feelings are trumping rationality. And so you have suffering going on in Syria, so let them into your country and your government will take care of them. And, you know, I hate to say this, but people in the United Kingdom are a little bit more sheepish than people in the United States. And Donald only won by a slim margin. And if Hillary had won, we'd be right there with UK taking in millions and millions of Syrian immigrants and hoping that they don't switch on the internet and blame the West for their shitty lives. So you're listening to Jeff Danger Radio. I'm working on a Facebook page, so if you want to join that, I have some of my videos on there. We're still working on it, but it is an active page. If you disagree with me, please send me an email. I would love to read it. I would love some feedback. My email is jeffdangerradio@gmail.com. That's Jeff, J-E-F-F, Danger, D-A-N-G-E-R, radio, R-A-D-I-O, @gmail.com. So I want to thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you in about 2 weeks. Thanks again.